Tonight on CTV News at 6. Major announcement.
Together, these projects have the potential to support an additional roughly 1,500 jobs.
Canada's largest mining company is investing billions in the north. On the last day of the FONOM conference,
got a lot of forests here, a lot of lumber that can be put to work.
A series of Ontario cabinet ministers speak at a gathering of northern politicians. And during this year's municipal election in North Bay,
digitization of services, it's a sign of the times.
People are going to cast ballots online.
CTV News at 6 with Tony Ryma and Rick Wyman with weather.
Good evening. So glad you're with us on this Wednesday. Ontario cabinet ministers face tough questions from municipal leaders today during the final day of the annual FONOM conference in Timmins. More now from CTV's Lydia Chubak.
Government working with these institutions.
Municipal leaders lined up at the microphone to press Ontario ministers on their most urgent concerns. The mayor of Temagami is calling for more highway safety measures.
Highway 11 and Highway 17 need some work, and we are losing people in our communities.
The province says it's still waiting to see whether federal government will help fund improvements. In the meantime, the province says it's reviewing the main causes of fatal collisions, including speeding and impaired driving, to determine what more can be done. And it says adding more passing lanes and rest stops could also help improve safety. Espinola's mayor asked about the homelessness crisis.
Very concerning is our street people, where we are with this.
The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Rob Flack, says the province has increased homelessness prevention funding to $700 million, but says money alone won't fix the problem. To address the housing shortage in the region, Flack would also like to see more home building using northern materials.
Got a lot of forests here, a lot of lumber that can be put to work, and I'd like to see some more modular homes, factories built up here, because they can get to the communities faster than if they're built down south.
$900 million, more or less, is coming out in the coming months. So as we approach the fall election season, we're happy to entertain applications, new applications for housing enabling, infrastructure funding. That's for water and wastewater, that's for bridges, that's for roads, anything that helps to enable new housing and maintain existing housing.
George Peary, Minister of Northern Economic Development and Growth, told attendees the region's economy is booming because of provincial policies. Associate Minister of Forestry Kevin Holland also highlighted efforts to support the forestry sector, including a $66 million investment in cap paper and how he's working with the federal government to ensure the mill's long-term viability. The conference ended today, but FONOM officials say they will continue to meet with upper levels of government over the issues that were brought up over the past few days. Lydia Chubak, CTV News, Schumacher.
Ontario Mines Minister Stephen Lecce held a news conference today in Toronto with Agnico Eagle Mines. It was to announce the company's planned spending and investment in the province by 2030.
I'm very honored that Agnico Eagle has announced a planned investment of $14 billion. This will represent, for a Canadian mining company, one of the largest to date in our province's history, to expand an existing mine and to open a new mine in the province of Ontario.
Agnico Eagle is planning to invest billions across its operating, development and exploration assets in the province. The Northern Detour Lake Underground Project northeast of Cochrane and the Upper Beaver Gold Copper Project east of Kirkland Lake will see an additional $2 billion invested by the company.
Together, these projects have the potential to support an additional roughly 1,500 jobs, bringing our employment number in Ontario to over 5,500 highly skilled, highly paid workers.
And Agnico Eagle is the second largest gold producer in the world, and more than 30% of its production is in Ontario. More information is now known as to what led to the resignation of Callender's mayor and a councillor days before Christmas. According to the town's integrity commissioner, both the conduct of Mayor Rob Noon and councillor Irene Smith was determined to constitute workplace harassment when dealing with the municipality's staff. The commissioner goes on to say while some individual occurrences were isolated, Others were egregious and formed a pattern of conduct over time that contributed to strain in workplace relationships and had an impact on the workplace itself. While at times referencing them individually, the report goes on to say, in part, collectively, it is clear that the failure of both respondents to abide by their role as elected members of council and their inappropriate actions towards staff had a significant adverse effect on staff and the municipal workplace and could not be tolerated. Deputy Mayor Jordy Carr was elevated to mayor for the remainder of the term. The Integrity Commissioner went on to say it's recommending no penalty, seeing as both Noon and Smith have resigned their positions. As candidates for councils and school boards file their nomination papers for Election Day in October, municipalities are starting the behind-the-scenes prep work. In North Bay, the election will be online only after City Council approved how voters will cast their ballot. CTV's Eric Tashner explains how it will work.
Election Day may be months away, but preparation is well underway, as voters will only be able to cast the ballot online in North Bay. It will be the first time the city is trying an online-only method, following a hybrid model trial run during the last election.
And it went really well. They were happy with the results that came in. They were confident in the results that came in.
A presentation to council last year highlighted running electronic-only voting would cost $150,000, while an in-person vote with paper ballots would be double that price, while a hybrid election with both options would total up to $350,000. In 2022, 70% of the vote was completed online.
Digitization of services, it's a sign of the times.
There will be 10 days of online-only advanced voting and a super poll set up on Election Day. During the voting period, people will be able to use their own devices and vote at home or at an in-person help location in the city.
With staff to help you understand what you're doing.
But there are some concerns for seniors who
don't have the technology. They don't have computers, and they're going to be forced into having somebody help them do it. I know for here it's going to be a hardship for a lot of people.
Political science professor Ian Parento says the one downside is municipal election officers lack the expertise of collecting the information gathered by the private companies they work with.
They have the vendors that provide those services, and they have to trust that what they say is the truth.
However, he expects that more smaller municipalities will eventually go down this route, since it's all about efficiency in the end.
The systems that have been developed over the years are more robust, so we have more experience.
Everyone is extremely sensitive to hackers and potentials for fraud. If they didn't have 100% confidence in the software they were using, they would not use it.
City officials are also encouraging voters to make sure their information is up to date before casting a ballot this fall. Eric Tashner, CTV News, North Bay.
Okay, let's talk about the weather. Another unsettled day out there. Cloud showers and cooler temperatures. To bring us the latest, here's CTV's Rick Wyman.
It all comes to a crashing halt a little bit later on, Tony. We do have some precipitation right now. A crashing halt. I knew you would like that. Our systems map brought to you by Environment Canada. That system will flitter out of, northeastern Ontario to the province of Quebec. We'll get rid of the rain. Then we'll get some sunshine and some warmer temperatures, and people have been clamoring for that for the last couple of days, considering a messy weekend that we had for Mother's Day. So we'll check that out. Current temperatures, not balmy. We do have some precipitation lingering in some areas of northeastern Ontario. We'll check that out, as well our 7-day forecast and a lot more, all coming up this hour. Tony.
Thanks, Rick. They say more safeguards are needed. Still to come on CTV News at 6. Health and safety advocates were at Queen's Park calling for better measures to protect minors. Right now, we are heading to the city of Elliott Lake. This is a live webcam from the Fire Tower Lookout, and it's courtesy of the city. It's 7 degrees. We are back after this commercial break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Sudbury MPP Jamie West was joined by Sudbury health and safety advocates at Queen's Park today. The group discussed the importance of protecting minors from occupational disease and say the solution is changing exposure limits. CTV's Lindsay Ehrlich tells us more.
From exposure to diesel fumes, particulate silica, and other carcinogens, this group says mine workers in the province have a 54% chance of getting lung cancer and 165% chance of getting COPD.
At USW, Local 6500 in Sudbury alone, we have lost 47 workers to occupational disease over the last 2 decades. And that number represents only the workers whose WSIB claims were filed and accepted. Many more cases remain tied up in appeals, and countless non-unionized workers never report their illnesses.
But advocates say it doesn't need to be this way. They are calling on Ontario to join other provinces like BC and Alberta in modernizing occupational exposure limits.
Silica needs to come down from 100 micrograms to 25 micrograms per meter cubed. Diesel particulate also needs to come down to 20 micrograms per meter cubed. These are not radical numbers. These are based on established science.
They say as more mines pop up across the province, the time to change things is now.
In other jurisdictions where the levels are lower, the fans have to run more often to change the air more often. In Ontario, where you're allowed to breathe a little more of the carcinogens, the fans don't have to ramp up as often.
These diseases take 20 to 30 years to show up in a person. The effects of the 1990s are just showing up in my office today. So if we don't get this right, it's going to be decades and generations of families suffering from this.
CTV News reached out to the Ministry of Labour and received a statement which says in part, to address long-term occupational illness, we are taking concrete steps to improve prevention, detection and response. This includes the launch of the first in Canada occupational exposure registry, which allows for better tracking of worker exposures over time and supports earlier intervention. Lindsay Ehrlich, CTV News, Sudbury.
Last Wednesday, Greater Sudbury fire crews were dispatched to Vale's Clarabelle Mill for an industrial fire. The fire chief says about 23 personnel were on scene and the fire was located to the 2nd and 3rd floor. The blaze was extinguished in less than an hour, but crews remained on scene until 7 a.m. the following day. In a statement to CTV News, Vale says, we can confirm that there was an internal incident at Clarabelle Mill last week. All employees were safely accounted for and no injuries were reported.
The cause and origin of the fire is under investigation, so we're not at this time able to determine the cause. It's still being investigated, but it is not suspicious in nature.
Fire Chief Grimwood says Vale will be conducting the investigation. A funding announcement in Greater Sudbury has sparked a different kind of conversation, one about parliamentary etiquette and ghosting local representatives. MP Jim Belanger says his office hasn't been notified of federal investment announcements in his riding. CTV's Amanda Hicks reports.
Sudbury MP Vivian Lapointe was in Wanapitei First Nation yesterday announcing over $1 million in federal tourism funding. But absent from the podium was the area's own representative. MP Jim Belanger says this is the 3rd time he's been left off the invite list for an announcement in his riding, twice by Lapointe and once by Nipissing Temiskaming MP Pauline Rushmore.
I have approached MP Pauline Rushmore and Vivian Lapointe and asked that I be involved in when things are happening. I even met with FedNor and asked them to notify me, and so far nothing, all the time, right? So today I just want people to know and to be aware what's going on.
Lapointe says she made the announcement on behalf of the federal government, not as a fellow member of Parliament.
FedNor certainly posts all announcements on their social media, so he would certainly be aware of when announcements are being made. He can certainly come to those announcements, but there would be nothing preventing him in attending those. But the spokesperson in this case is the federal government. It is a federal government announcement.
Retired politician Charlie Angus says this tension is common in Canadian politics.
In reality, it's kind of like Mean Girls, and who's ever in government wants to snub those who aren't in government, and so you never get invited, or you're never allowed to speak, or they want to come and make announcements and they don't include you.
Angus says it's a tactic used by governments of all stripes to ensure the party in power gets the credit, regardless of whose riding the event is in. While the process is often criticized, both sides agree the funding itself is good news for the region. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Sudbury.
The state of emergency prompted by heavy flooding has been lifted in Billings Township on Manitoulin Island. The community is still above flood level, but Mayor Brian Barker says the dam is able to control the amount of water flowing through. The state of emergency was in place for about a month, and Barker says floodwaters peaked at 16 inches above flood level. The next step for Billings Township is to assess the damage.
Our big concern is our trail system. It was severely damaged, and hopefully we'll be able to get in there sometime within the next week or so and do a proper assessment of the damage. But it's quite extensive, and it is our main tourist attraction, as we mentioned last time we spoke, and we're concerned.
Tekema Township announcing this week that it is dropping its state of emergency for severe flooding. A state of emergency had been in effect for weeks following a spike in rainfall combined with snowmelt across Manitoulin Island. Township officials say the road closure notice will still apply. According to the MNR, flood warnings continue in the region. Lake Nipissing is over non-damage level despite the intake waters decreasing. This could impact people with docks, boats, boathouses, and homes that are along the shoreline. The town of Mattawa continues to be under a flood warning, though waters are expected to trend downwards throughout the week. The Timmins Dam, which has been discharging water into the upper Ottawa River, is also expected to decrease by Friday. Lake Temagami remains within flood allowance, though water levels are expected to remain high for another 1 to 2 weeks. And back now for a check on your current conditions. Here's Rick.
Not a bad night. We've had better. We've had worse. We do have, we actually have some light rain throughout the Northeast. This is the system right now that's winding its way easterly, so we'll get rid of that precipitation and move on to some much better weather. But first, let's check out our current conditions. Hey, sunshine, Moosonee 13, nice change there. Sun and cloud in Cochrane 12, 13 Timmins, cloud cover, Kapuskasing 13, some sun and cloud as well. Meanwhile, in Chapleau, cloud cover at 10, Wawa mainly cloudy at 13, Sault Ste. Marie, cloudy skies and 6. Parry Sound 5 with the cloud cover this hour. Moving on up to North Bay, we've got light rain 6. Temiskaming Shores also 6 light rain. 10 Kirkland Lake with light rain. Greater Sudbury 6 light rain. Espanola 6 off and on light rain. Elliott Lake light rain at 7 and Gore Bay 7 as well with the light rain. We've got our 7-day forecast. And we've got a rabbit to show you coming up with our pick of the day. Stick around for that and more. Tony?
Thanks, Rick. The numbers are growing. Next on CTV News at 6. There are now 16 people isolated in Canada because of the hantavirus. And Elections Alberta say the organizer of a separatist group is not cooperating. This is Victims and Survivors of Crime Week. Today in Sudbury, Angels of Hope Against Human Trafficking held a lunch and learn for service providers and community partners. More now from CTV's Alan Everson.
It was a sold-out session focusing on learning in recognition of victims and survivors of Crime Week.
You know, the intersection of homelessness and addictions, and there's vulnerabilities of all different descriptions. With the online presence now, our children and our kids and our families are more vulnerable than ever. So bringing awareness to that.
I feel that we need to know that human trafficking is happening because it could save a life. If someone's able to recognize the signs of human trafficking and know what to do if they do recognize it and make that call.
The session was hosted by Angels of Hope Against Human Trafficking.
Angels of Hope started from my kitchen table in 2015, and up to date we've supported more than 400 survivors and their loved ones. Anything pertaining to healing and support.
Organizers say the session is about learning to build unshakable trust for victims through effective collaboration of community partners.
It's the spirit of collaboration, and it's really exciting to bring a room full of people that work in that space to have an open dialogue and a discussion amongst ourselves, and just bring that to fruition rather than just in theories.
Another goal of the Lunch and Learn is affirming a shared commitment of supporting victims and survivors of crime with integrity, respect, and accountability. Ellen Everson, CTV News, Sudbury.
There are now 16 people in Canada isolating with links to the hantavirus outbreak on the Dutch cruise ship. Ontario's health ministry has now directed 7 more people to isolate. The ministry says those individuals are considered low-risk contacts. That means they came into contact with one of the high-risk people. There are also 3 high-risk cases in Ontario exposed to the virus while traveling. They have all been directed to isolate for 45 days. In Alberta and BC, another 6 people are isolating, all of whom are showing no symptoms. The federal government is also implementing temporary measures to prevent any passenger or crew member from that cruise ship from boarding a flight to Canada. Elections Alberta says the separatist leader at the center of a huge public data leak is not cooperating with its investigation. The agency says David Parker is not obeying orders to stop using the list and could face serious consequences. CTV's Tim Brooke has more.
David Parker is in hot water with Elections Alberta. Not only did his separatist group, the Centurion Project, access and share the electors list, but now the agency says he's not obeying a cease and desist related to that data leak.
I'm sure that there's going to be, quite extensive involvement from investigative lawyers, general counsel, looking to see what sorts of measures they can undertake to gain compliance.
The list Parker has contains the names and addresses of close to 3 million residents. Elections Alberta says 23 people were provided it and 545 others accessed it through the Centurion Project's online tool. Experts believe those who don't obey orders will likely face obstruction charges and potentially contempt of court penalties. That could involve fines, jail time, or both.
One of the best benefits of enforcement, of effective enforcement, is to send a message to other individuals who might contemplate doing something similar.
This isn't Parker's first run-in with Elections Alberta. Crown Debt Collection is already after him and his group Take Back Alberta over 11 unpaid fines, totaling almost $122,000. Just last month, Parker called the agency corrupt to the core, a den of evil, and a tool to suppress democracy. The Justice Minister isn't speaking to media. The one UCP MLA says her government trusts an ongoing RCMP investigation. It's unclear if Parker will comply with that.
We have said we will be looking forward to see what they bring forward so that we can get to the bottom of what happened there.
For now, Alberta's chief electoral officer believes the voter list should not be shared with any political parties until there are better privacy protections in place. The leak, just the latest thing on the agency's plate ahead of a busy autumn.
The volume of work is unprecedented. I used to drink from a garden hose, now I'm drinking from a fire hose.
Tim Brooke, CTV News, Calgary.
All right, there's more news still ahead, but first, here's your full weather forecast with Rick.
And the fact that a lot of Buffalo fans were on my case all day today, Tony, saying, what happened to your Habs? Well, we got a best-of-3 series. See what happens beginning tomorrow night in Buffalo. Hey, Canadians lost, Buffalo win. Good for them. Forecast radar, our system moving out of the Northeast Ontario area. Right now, we've had so much precipitation. It's time to move on. Warmer temperatures and better conditions. Another system coming in maybe by midday Friday into Friday evening, Saturday, chance of showers. We'll talk about that and a lot more. But first, your overnight conditions. Showers, Greater Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, clearing in Timmins, Temiskaming Shores, showers, North Bay showers as well. Moosonee, we've got mainly cloudy skies, partly cloudy Caphurst, Wawa, a few clouds. Chance of showers, Gore Bay and Perry Sound, rain in the forecast as it continues this evening. Sudbury, Nickel Belt, sunshine tomorrow 16, sun and cloud Friday 17, chance of showers Saturday 19, that's pretty well standard across the Northeast. Sunday, sun and cloud 19, 20 on holiday Monday, cloud cover. And of course, not the best of days, but we've had worse. Tuesday, chance of showers at 17. Sault Ste. Marie, Algoma, sunshine tomorrow 15, chance of showers on Friday at 15. A couple of nice days, Saturday and Sunday, 15 and 16, sun and cloud. Monday, Tuesday, chance of showers at 40%, 18 on holiday Monday, 15 on Tuesday. That 18 degrees, by the way, one up on the normal for the area for this time of the year. Timmins, Cochrane, Kapuskasing, sunshine tomorrow 15, sun and cloud Friday 17. Chance of showers Saturday at 17, 16 Sunday, sunshine, which is a nice day. Monday, Tuesday, 60% chance of showers both days, 17 and 13 your daytime highs. That looks like a pretty good bet for the rain to fall. Temiskaming Shores, Kirkland Lake. Gradual clearing tomorrow 15, 17 Friday, sun and cloud. Saturday, chance of showers at 40%, 19 your high. 18 Sunday, sun and cloud. Chance of showers on Monday and Tuesday, both at 40%. It might rain, might not rain. We'll see what happens. 19 and 16 your daytime highs. The normal for this time of the year in that area is about 18, so you're awfully close. And let's have a look now at what's happening in North Bay and West Nipissing. Mainly cloudy tomorrow 15, 17 Friday, sun and cloud. Chance of showers Saturday 19, 19 again Sunday, sun and cloud. And the chance of showers Monday, Tuesday, both at 40%. 21 degrees. It's been a while since we've hit 21. 18 on Tuesday as well, your normal around 18. James, my man, if you will, let's roll that pick of the day. This courtesy of Mary and her daughter Jasmine. Hey, what's up, Doc? This is a new Sudbury rabbit, just frolicking in the bush, and I thank you, Mary and Jasmine, for that delightful picture. Speaking of delightful, Tony has more news coming up after the break. From flight delays to unexpected medical emergencies. Tonight on Ask an Expert, learn how CAA travel can actually help you enjoy the experience with confidence. We're talking insurance, and CAA's Rachel Lalonde has all the answers. Now, Rachel, I guess you can never have enough insurance in your life, but many Canadians are choosing to explore the beauty of their own country we call Canada this spring and summer. What are some of the destinations that are currently trending?
So absolutely. Canada is just beautiful, and there's incredible summer destinations for all types of travelers. Banff and Jasper in Alberta, perfect for families who love hiking, wildlife, and postcard-worthy scenery. Absolutely stunning out there. Tofino, BC, so that's a great mix of beach relaxation, adventure. It's great for surfing or just soaking up the West Coast vibe. Prince Edward Island, charming small towns, beautiful beaches, fresh seafood right out of the ocean onto your plate. Perfect for a slower paced family escape. Very affordable as well in that area. Quebec City, a great mix of history and culture with European flair. So also a lot of kid-friendly festivals in that area for the summer. So no matter where you go, though, travel insurance is your safety net, especially when you're visiting out of province.
Okay, so what's the biggest misunderstanding when it comes to travel insurance for a lot of people?
So a lot of people think they're covered enough with their credit card or their group travel plans. Truth is, not a lot of credit card companies or group plans, they don't have the same level of coverage as a standalone package would have. There's key things to look out for when you're doing this is the limitations. So if claims, are they paid out directly, or do you have to cough up the money and then wait for them to pay you back? Or whether they cover pre-existing conditions. Do you have that, diabetes? Are they going to cover you because you have diabetes? So many travelers, they do need to top up their policy to make sure that they're covered for that vacation.
Okay, Rachel, hypothetical situation. Let's say someone's planning a helicopter tour around beautiful Vancouver Island. Is that the kind of experience usually covered under a standard travel insurance policy?
No, not really. So basic travel insurance, they may not cover those high thrill activities. So helicopter tours, hot air balloon rides, or parasailing. If there's one included in your trip, then make sure that you have that adventurous air activity rider added to your policy. That way you'll have that coverage. And you can add it to your emergency medical and your vacation package plan. And this rider, covered up to $5 million.
Okay, are a lot of people inquiring through CAA about travel insurance these days?
Definitely. They want that protection, especially, cancellation, interruption with those delays. It certainly helps protect that extra cost that you have to cough up if you're delayed for a couple of days, and making sure that, if things get canceled or things go sideways, your insurance will cover you for everything.
I like that. My guest tonight, as usual, Rachel Lalonde from CAA. For more information, check out CTV News Northern Ontario.ca.
Researchers at the Hospital for Sick Children have uncovered a genetic pathway that they say could lead to targeted therapies to help with autism. CTV's Pauline Chan visited their labs today.
Scientists have known for decades that there was a genetic link to autism spectrum disorder.
Our previous studies looked at the protein coding genes of the genome, and now our novel discovery here actually found a long non-coding RNA. So this is an RNA molecule that has function within the cell.
It's found on the X chromosome, and it's associated with autism in males who carried small deletions in the gene.
So if you think of a light switch, for example, in a room that has 100 different pot lights in it, we think about perhaps this new molecule we've identified is more of a dimmer switch.
And it's connected with what are the core behavioral traits associated with autism: difficulties with socializing, communicating, and repetitive behaviors. Professor Shearer says the key to their discovery has been their ability to do whole genome sequencing for thousands of people. 5,000 from Canada, plus thousands more from Europe, South Korea, and Qatar. Susan Cosgrove has 3 children, all on the spectrum. She says she's always believed in a genetic link, but this finding could be key in earlier and more reliable diagnosis.
It's still somebody's interpretation of your child's behavior, your child's features. If this was able to be diagnosed through a blood test, right? We wouldn't have to do that wait.
Now that we have cellular pathways identified, we can think about precision therapeutics for perhaps all people who have a diagnosis of autism. And that's why this is really a novel finding.
Newer technology is helping this type of research examine regions of the genome it could never study before. The researchers have been able to transfer these genetic alterations to mouse models to work towards someday developing targeted therapies for specific autism-related genes. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Recent statistics show 4 northern cities remain in the top 10 across Ontario for the number of fatal drug overdoses last year. CTV's Angela Gemmel reports on how Greater Sudbury plans to respond.
No community wants to be on a list for high opioid-related drug deaths. But across Ontario last year, 4 northern cities made the top 10.
I think that really speaks to some of the real challenges that occur in more northern regions, more remote regions where there's fewer services. It's much more difficult to access those services.
The Office of Ontario's chief coroner compiled opioid toxicity mortality rates for all of 2025. Thunder Bay was at the top, followed by Orillia and North Bay. Greater Sudbury took the 4th spot, while Sault Ste. Marie was number 8. Sudbury's medical officer of health says our community has been hard hit by substance use issues.
We've seen over the last 3 years or so that the numbers have been improving, which is, I think, certainly good news, and I think speaks to how we're accomplishing some good things in the community. But we are still much higher than we were maybe 15 years ago.
Dr. Hergy is co-chair for Greater Sudbury's Community Drug Strategy, which just released a call to action responding to the toxic drug crisis. It's meant to provide transparency for the public and will be measured by reductions in overdoses or drug deaths.
We're going to be looking at people's access to get into the care that they need, their ability to get into treatment, and the number of people who feel that they're able to access services without feeling stigma. Those are some of the key things we're working on this year.
The other co-chair of the strategy calls it a coordinated approach by all the partners to address the complex problem.
This really is an opportunity for all of us to be rowing in the same direction, right? We all hold different pieces of the puzzle in regards to a response, and it's about coordinating the action within the community to be able to respond to that.
Dr. Hergy says the call to action will include an annual report card highlighting achievements, challenges, and areas for improvement. But the real measure will be in whether Sudbury can get itself off the coroner's top 10 list. Angela Gamble, CTV News, Sudbury.
Safety-dominated discussions today in Sault Ste. Marie as federal representatives met with area law enforcement leaders. Organized by Soo MP Terry Sheehan, Canada's Secretary of State for Combating Crime, was in the city to discuss government action on crime while hearing concerns of local officials. Soo Police, as well as Ontario provincial police leaders from the Soo, Wawa and Blind River were in the room. There were 8 pieces of legislation that government officials spoke about, among those Bill C-14, which relates to bail reform, and Bill C-16 on intimate partner violence.
We sat down and talked about 8 different pieces of legislation that we have currently going through the parliamentary process. We talked about other issues of concern that they wanted to identify as top priorities. Intimate partner violence had definitely come up in that conversation.
Listening to the people that are literally serving the people on our roads, keeping us safe, is really important when we're creating legislation, because they have a perspective of seeing what's happening and what's not happening. So they gave us some really good ideas, and I'm very pleased to hear them.
And Sahoda will be in attendance for tonight's Victim Services Algoma Roots of Excellence Resilience Gala. The federal minister also met with local intimate partner violence groups, Caitlin's Herd and Angie's Angels, earlier today. They have a whole host of events planned. Still ahead on CTV News at 6. Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen and his Artemis II crewmates are in Ottawa after their journey into space. A special moment today as students and the Prime Minister met with the crew of Artemis II in Ottawa. Smiles all around and a message about Canada's contribution to space. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on the astronauts' tour of the capital.
We didn't really see this either because this is so cool.
It was a different kind of moon mission in Ottawa today.
I think we saw that crater.
The Artemis II crew giving Prime Minister Mark Carney and a group of students special insight into their epic 10-day lunar flyby mission. 12-year-old Louis Castro Lopez among the middle school students who got to ask the astronaut questions.
Yeah, I watched the astronauts and just to come here, to meet our school was, wow, amazing.
Fellow 7th grader Annabelle Busby Sheridan did too, and she got to hold a piece of meteorite from the moon.
It was such a privilege. I never thought, ever that I'd ever be able to meet them.
Splashdown confirmed.
The visit to the capital comes just over 1 month after the 4-person crew splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean.
We surpassed the furthest distance humans have ever traveled.
Following a groundbreaking mission to the far side of the moon that captured the world's attention. Canadian Jeremy Hansen getting a special thank you from Carney.
And this is the flag that flew on the day you splashed down.
Oh, wow.
Hansen's trip into outer space was his first, and it was also the furthest any Canadian astronaut has ever traveled.
Canada very much went to space, and I rode on your shoulders.
That Canadian pride on full display at each stop in the capital, where fans, young and old, were inspired to reach new heights.
I want to be the first man, and if it's possible, to walk on Mars.
The Artemis II crew will now head to Montreal, where the astronauts will share more about their thoughts on the mission at the Canadian Space Centre tomorrow. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
The third and final early bird prize winner was drawn today in the Canadian Hard of Hearing Association Dream 50/50 fundraiser.
Congratulations to Ron Fairhall of Hanmer.
Ron won a Via Rail's Canada Rail vacation. He has the option to take the vacation or the cash value of the vacation at $35,000. The main draw for the big jackpot is midnight, May 19th. The jackpot is sitting at nearly $110,000 and tickets are still available. The tennis dome, also called the Igloo in Sudbury, could be closed for the summer. The dome was shut down after snow collapsed the structure in March. Sudbury Tennis says all the lights need to be replaced inside the dome, along with most of the net posts. Some of the court surfaces were also damaged by water and ice following the storm. This was a major blow to the organization, as the courts at the Igloo had been resurfaced less than a year ago. Sudbury Tennis has a GoFundMe page set up. While there is no date yet for the reopening, the group is hopeful the work can be done by August or September. A week after announcing the expansion of their league to Detroit, the PWHL has announced 2 more cities will be getting teams next season. Hamilton and Las Vegas have been added to the league's lineup. The PWHL chose Hamilton partly because it is one of the largest and most concentrated areas in the world for girls hockey participation. More than 16,000 fans came out for the PWHL Takeover Tour at TD Coliseum in January, rivaling Detroit's high attendance. The new team's colors will be gold, maroon, and cream. The battle for the Walter Cup will be an all-Canadian affair as the Montreal Victoire downed the 2-time defending PWHL champion Minnesota Frost. The Victoire beat Minnesota 2-1 to punch their ticket to their first PHWL title. They'll face the Ottawa Charge in a best-of-5 final. Game 1 goes tomorrow night at Place Belle in Laval. Prime Minister Mark Carney congratulating the Victoire for securing their spot in the final, adding that whatever happens, the Walter Cup is coming home. And the Montreal Canadiens didn't fare as well as their counterparts in Laval. Despite a hard-fought game, the Buffalo Sabres picked up the win 3-2 last night to tie that series at 2 games apiece. Game 5 goes tomorrow in Buffalo. Game 6 will shift back to Montreal Saturday night. The series winner will face the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Final. This evening's entertainment report takes you from Broadway to the silver screen. Here's David Daniel with our Hollywood Minute.
Weird Al Yankovic is headed to Broadway. Dare to be Stupid, the Weird Al musical, is being developed for the stage. It's to feature an original story and incorporate the Parody Master's most loved songs. Lupita Nyong'o plays 2 characters in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. A Time magazine profile of Nolan reveals the Oscar-winning actress plays both Helen of Troy and her sister Clytemnestra. Matt Damon leads the cast of The Odyssey in theaters July 17th.
One wish, Willow. You only get one wish. I wish Nikki Freeman loved me more than anyone in the entire world.
All together now, be careful what you wish for. A hopeless romantic discovers the price of his desire in Obsession. Michael Johnston and Indy Navarrete star in the supernatural horror thriller, which opens in theaters Friday. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Algoma Steel in Sault Ste. Marie is bleeding more red ink. In the first 3 months of this year, the company says it lost nearly $160 million. The company notes that the switch to electric arc steelmaking and American tariffs heavily impacted the bottom line. Algoma officials say that steel production on the second electric arc furnace will start by the 3rd quarter of this year. There is a big deal in a Canadian mining a merger that will create an $18.5 billion company. BNN Bloomberg's Marilla Fernandez has more.
Equinox Gold is buying Orla Mining in a cash and stock deal worth just over $5 billion US. Combined, the new entity would be the second largest Canadian gold producer, with 6 mines across Canada, the US, Nicaragua, and Mexico. Together, they would produce more than 1 million ounces of gold a year. But the CEO of Equinox says he aims to double output. Shareholders will vote on that deal in July. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is up a fraction to 72.96. West Texas Intermediate down over $1 to 101.02. Western Canadian Select up over $3 to 81.43. And the TSX lost 249 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Here are the current prices for some key commodities we watch. Gold down $22.72, closing the day at $46.94.86 US an ounce. Silver up 66 cents to end the day at 87.86. Copper up 11 cents to 6.33, and nickel up 9 cents, ending the day at 8.59 US a pound. And Rick is back now for one last look at your Thursday weather.
Tony, some sunshine across the board throughout most of Northeastern Ontario. Let's check out some of the conditions and temperatures. 16 in Sudbury, wow. Sunny skies, 15 in Timmins, sunshine. Sault Ste. Marie, 15, and sunny skies as well. Meanwhile, North Bay, 15, mainly cloudy, could start to become even more sunnier. Can I use that expression, Tony? A little bit later on during the day, increasing sun. 15 degrees, 14 Parry Sound, a chance of showers. Sorry about that, Parry Sound and Temiskaming Shores. Gradual clearing, becoming mainly sunny, and 15. So sunshine, warmer temperatures all coming your way. Tony?
Thanks for that, Rick. And finally, this hour, the Nipissing Region and North Bay Police have their newest officer reporting to duty, and her name is Mocha. This 18-month-old standard poodle and her calming presence will now be used to help those affected by crime and tragedy. She'll also be working with the North Bay Police Service Community Response Unit to help with events and engagement initiatives. Mocha is the newest generation following the recent retirement of Chewy. She was selected, trained, certified, and donated through the Lions Foundation of Canada Dog Guides. What a cute one there. And folks, that's CTV News at 6. I'm Tony Ryma. More news comes your way at 11:30 with Ian Campbell. Good night.